Welcome to another interesting tutorial, dear creatives. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make this style. As you can see, here is the one I've made with slight difference in the cape and in the slit. So I'll show you everything. Now, the first thing you need to do is to get your pattern paper, your skirt, your basic pencil skirt block. As you can see in front of me, I have it, the back and the front. If you don't know how to draft these skirts, kindly let me know. I'll be dropping the link in the description box. I have a video on this channel already on how to draft a pencil skirt. Okay, so if you do not know how to draft a pencil skirt, note that we must be on the same page. So you must go to the description box and click on the link to watch how to draft a basic skirt and a basic pencil skirt on this channel. Okay, and here with me I have my basic bodice pattern. If you also do not know how to draft a basic bodice, the link will also be in the description box so you can watch and learn. So I have labeled my front and my back patterns. If you can draft both basic skirt and basic bodice, let's proceed. So here is my front and here is my back also on the skirt. So next, I'll be separating the front and back. As you can see, I'm cutting it out already. So our front and back patterns are ready. I'll be keeping the back aside because we'll majorly be working with the front pattern, okay? For the back pattern, we'll be sewing with it exactly the way it is. Now, before we proceed, let's go over to cutting out our basic bodice pattern, okay? That is separating the basic bodice front from the back. And now we are also done separating the pattern. So for the front and back to be equal by the side, we'll need to close our bust darts, okay? But for now, let's proceed to altering the skirts. We'll come back and alter the bodies. Now for the skirt alteration, what we must do first is to trace out the skirt pattern, unfold. So you get another pattern paper. So with me here is this pattern paper. I'm folding it so that the center front will be aligned to the folded edge of the pattern paper. Can you see? So the center front is meant to be on fold, so I have placed it on the folded edge of the pattern paper. And then I'll trace it out exactly. And here I'm just trying to align it properly. Just note that the center front must lie equally with the folded edge, this part, okay? So that's what I'm trying to ensure I get. And then if you notice, my skirt pattern is longer than this other pattern paper. So for this reason, I'll automatically reduce the length of my gown, okay? I'll be reducing it from the original length I planned. The style we are actually getting our inspiration from is longer than what I normally like wearing, so I'm making mine a little shorter. So as you can see, I am tracing using my tracing wheel. I'm tracing it out exactly so it reflects on the new pattern paper underneath, okay? I'm here done tracing out, okay? But before I remove the pattern paper, I will just cut out exactly the way it is lying on the other pattern paper. Can you see what I'm doing? The reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to go over the entire process of redrawing this line, okay? So you can just cut it out. It's fine. It's all fine. After cutting it out, you can now redraw the other lines you traced out, okay? So I'm done cutting it out. I'm done cutting it out. But I realized that I haven't traced the dart, so I'm here tracing the dart. Can you see? I'm tracing the dots to be sure that everything appears on the other pattern paper before removing it. So after tracing, I will be removing it now. Can you see? I have removed it, and this pattern paper have taken the shape of the complete front skirt. Can you see? Opening it up. So all the traced lines are here. I will now redraw them. I know you cannot see the lines, but I can see them. They are really fainty, but I'll just redraw them because I can see them. Both the dart line and the hip line. Okay, those are my major areas of focus. The dart and the hip. So I'm just redrawing. And here I'm also done redrawing the darts and the hip line. And if you watch well, you notice that I have duplicated this particular pattern into two also. Okay, can you see? So we have two of this, and that's exactly what you need. So I haven't gotten to this point. We'll just start altering our pattern to our gown skirt pattern. Okay, first of all, I'll keep one of these patterns aside and work with one. Okay, by the time I'm done with this, I'll come back to the other. So here, I'm dividing the M line into three. You divide from the M line, you divide it into three equal parts. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm trying to measure the length of the M, and then I'm marking the three parts. It's about 15.5 inches, so I'm taking 518 for each part. 518 or a little above 518. Can you see? So I've divided it into three. So from this divided point, I'll now start my alteration. Okay. Next, I'll be moving on to the darts. In this particular skirt, we are doing dart alteration too. That's the major reason why the darts were traced out. Okay, we are doing dart manipulation, so to say. We'll be eliminating these darts. You will not see these darts visible on the skirt, but they have done their job. Okay, so I'm shifting the dart leg this way. Can you see? So I'll be taking it straight, but first of all, let me mark the point this way. Can you see? So I've slanted the dart towards the side. Okay, connecting it to the first dart leg from this particular point, from here, and then connecting it to the second dart leg like this. So I have slanted the dart in a bit to manipulate and eliminate it. Okay, now I'm taking it to the third half on the right side. Can you see? So I have done that, and I'll be cutting out. Okay, so in this way I have automatically transferred the dart. Also note that you can draft your skirt without a dart and just slant a line towards the M, the third part of the M, a straight line. Okay, that's if you are not using that at all on your skirts. That is still fine. Okay, so this part is now useless. We'll not be using it again. I'll put it aside. After that, I'll be cutting out the dart area. As you can see, that's what I'm doing now. That has also been done. And then I'll go further to close this dart. I will not use it. For closing it, I'll be using my masking tape to mask it in place. Okay, as you can see, it's folding a little as I'm closing the dart, but don't worry, you just place it on your fabric and cut it out flat. Ignore this folding. Okay, so that is it for this side. So this is the side we are going to be using. You indicate, mark it so you know that this is the side you are using. It's now time for us to alter the second part of the skirt. Okay, so you bring your second pattern like this, and then still mark the M. When you are doing yours, if you want to do it exactly like this particular style, we are that's our inspiration. Okay, I have marked this and I've kept it aside. Now if you want to do this particular style that is our inspiration, you should not mark 3 on this second leg. Okay, you should not divide the M into 3. You should rather divide it into 2 from the midpoint. Okay, that's where the connection should be. While I was drafting, I did it 3 and also transferred to my fabric before I realized. So that's the reason why my opening is more than that of our inspiration. Okay, so when you are doing yours, take note. This part I'm working with. Okay, can you see? It should be meeting this other one at the middle. So now I'll be dropping down from the hip line by 2 inches. You can do 1, you can even do 3, but I think I'm doing 2. Okay, I've marked 2 inches and I'm linking to the third layer. Okay, it is this point I was explaining earlier. Don't take it to this third part I am taking it to on the M, but rather it should just be at the middle. You get a perfect effect if you do it that way. Okay, so for me, I did this and my opening is more than that of our inspiration. Please take note of that. This point is very important. Okay, so I've already done mine this way and I transferred to pattern like this, to fabric like this, before I realized that it was supposed to come from the middle and not the third layer, the third point. Okay, so I've marked this also, and I'll also go ahead and close this dots. I'm not using that at all on this one, so I am closing the dots. After closing the dot, I'll simply go ahead and indicate the midpoint. Can you see? On both patterns, so they are meeting at the midpoint. Can you see? So you join them this way, right? We have gotten our skirt pattern. Imagine this other bigger pattern is coming from the midpoint of the M, the opening here. You would have seen that this opening would have been smaller. Okay, so don't make this mistake. Take note of the mistake and correct yours when you are drafting and sewing yours, except you love the wider opening. Okay, for me, after making the mistake, I came to love the wider opening on my body because my own gown is actually shorter than that of our inspiration. So it's now time for us to manipulate the bodice. As you already know, for the inspiration, the basic bodice pattern was used. Okay, the dart on the waist was used. I think it was used, and then the dart on the bust was also used. But for me, I don't really like that. I want to just manipulate it. I want to manipulate the darts. So I'm transferring the bust dart to my over bust. Okay, so here I'm marking the over bust area where my cape will pass through. I'm just simply marking. I think I did 5 here. Okay, I came down from the shoulder line by 5 inches. Yes, okay, from the shoulder line by 5 inches from both the front and the back. Okay, then for the back, the center back, I now dropped down a little by 1 inch before I linked. Can you see what I'm doing? Okay, so the center back goes down a little more than the front. Okay, having done that, I'll cut off the upper part. This part is no longer useful. Okay, the yoke part is no longer useful for this particular style. Now I have cut off, and then I will now take my dart leg straight. We'll be closing the side dart, but as you know the rule of dart manipulation, we must slant open another dart before we close. Yes, a particular dart. Whenever we want to close a dart, we must open another dart. So I'm taking the dart leg straight to the chest area so I can open it up. Okay, can you see? I've done that. Now we can open up. However, I'll go ahead and contour that chest line area just a little so that the dress will be fitted on that part. Okay, I do not want anything loose, so I'll contour it. Okay, this is how I contour. I simply mark 1/4 inch on both sides of the dart. Can you see? 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. So I'll link it back to the bust point. Can you see? So in effect, I have pinched out 1/2 inch from the chest area. Here is my center front and here is my side front. Now I can now cut out. So I'll cut out the darts and the contour up to the contoured chest line area. Just watch me do that. The side has been cut out. Now for the center front, I'll go ahead and also do the same. Watch me. Okay, so we have gotten our center front. Here is our center front. We now have it. But before we have our side front, we need to close the side dart. Okay, can you see? I've closed the side darts. If you notice, the side pattern is also relaxed. Can you see? So I've used a masking tape to tape it to stay in place. So we now have our front complete. Now after masking it down nicely, I realized that I need to blend out the bust area. So I blended it out and I'll cut out. Blending out is simply taking out anything that is protruding on the bust area. So I have done that. So this is how we'll join it to get our effects. As you can see, the sides are now equal, the side back and the side front. Okay, so having done that, the next thing is to also contour the back. Just the same thing we did for the front. We'll be extending that leg to meet with the chest line, and then we'll contour the chest line by taking out 1/4 inch each on both sides. Can you see? I've done it already. As you already know, the back has no bust, so you try as much as possible to blend out nicely so that nothing protrudes. Also cutting out. This alteration is just to give fitting to the bodice. It's not a bustier. Note that I'm just transferring the darts to different parts, okay, instead of using the basic bodice darts. So I'm done. Here is our side back and here is our center back. Our bodice patterns are also ready. Next will be our cape. But before we draft our cape, let's get to the moment of truth. The moment of truth is where we will be testing these patterns on our fabric. Yes, we'll be transferring the patterns to fabric to see if everything will come out accurately. So let's do a transfer to fabric. For the cape, I'll be showing you on the fabric. Or I can decide to also use a small paper to just demonstrate what I'll be doing. Right, so transferring the patterns to fabric, you just mark your allowances. Can you see I've transferred the skirt patterns? I'll be separating each pattern to explain exactly the allowances I have added so far. Okay, for the skirt pattern, I added half 1 inch allowance to the sides and then 1/2 inch on every other part except for the arm, where I added up to 1.5 inches. Okay, so this is it. For this side I added 1.5 inches instead of 1/2 inch, right? 1.5 is what I added because I'll be folding it for the finishing, right? I'll be folding it. I'm not turning it out with a lining. By the time I fold the 1.5 inches twice, it will be exactly how I wanted it to be. So for the skirts, for on both patterns, the parts that are inside, I'm adding 1.5. Then for the side, I'm adding 1 inch for sewing allowance. I hope that is taken. So this is the other part of the skirt, half an inch for the side. Then on this side, 1.5. You already know why. I'll fold it to finish. Then for the M, 1.5 also, I'll fold it to finish. Then it is only on the waistline that I'm adding half an inch, which will be used to join it to the upper bodice. Okay, so that one extra 1 inch is for folding. I hope that is taken. Okay, so having talked about the skirt, we'll move ahead to show the transfer to fabric for the bodies. But before then, let's test once again a moment of truth. Let's put aside the pattern, okay, and just check out the fabric. See how we are joining it. We are aligning the midpoint to the midpoint like this. Can you see? So this is our skirt. Okay, remember the opening. Why the opening is so much? You should shift one part to be at the center. Okay, you already know that. If you did not get it well, if you did not get that point well, please go over to the drafting video, watch and get it again. So this is how I will fold and finish off the skirts. Okay, don't worry, relax. We are going to sew this together. Also, before we move over to the bodice pattern transfer, let's see our back skirts, the back of our skirts. Remember, we did not alter it. We transferred it to fabric exactly the way it is. Okay, so this pattern, we cut out 2. So we folded it and cut out 2, okay, of it. So we are having 2 on the side of the back. Let's remove this so that we see exactly what we are talking about for the back. This is it. The hem is 1.5. The waistline is half an inch. The side is 1 inch and the center is also 1 inch. Mind you, 1 inch for the center is for zipper allowance. 1 inch for the side is for side seam allowance. Then 1.5 for the hem is for the finishing allowance. And the half an inch for the waist is for the allowance that we'll use to join the skirt to the upper bodice. So here I'm imputing a notch on the center back. So by the time I am sewing, I'll be able to differentiate the center back from the center front clearly. Okay. So we have talked about our back pattern also. This is it. This is what we have for our back pattern. If you don't know how to draft a skirt pattern, please go and learn how to do that. Just rush to the description box and watch the video. So we are keeping our skirts also aside. Now, our back skirt aside. Now it's time for the bodice patterns. This is the back bodice. As you can see here, there is no allowance at all on the arm and on the front. Okay, so for this reason, I'm automatically shortening my back bodice pattern. Let me just place all together so that you understand exactly what I'm talking about. The pattern is longer than the fabric. My fabric was not enough, so I have to economize it. Okay, so I have notched the center back also to know that that's where the zipper will pass through. Can you see what I am doing? So when I placed all the other patterns, you know how I finally adjusted the pattern due to the fact that the fabric did not cover all the patterns. Okay, this is the side back. So I've opened up all the parts, the side back and the center back, and I've aligned the M area. As you can see, the M aligns perfectly. So the alteration will be coming from the chest area. Just watch me. Can you see? I'm equalizing the sides to the center. it was the center fabric that wasn't enough. So I've done the alteration on the center. Can you see? So I have cut out accordingly. I'll be sewing with this pattern. I have reduced the back neckline, or I've made it deeper, so to say. So I'll just join like this, okay? And then on the center, we'll fix the zipper. So we are done with our back patterns. Let's keep it aside and move over to our front patterns. Like I mentioned earlier, you have nothing to fear due to the fact that we are sewing these together. Okay, now for the center front, the pattern length remains the same. I mean for the front patterns, both side and center, the pattern length remains the same. I'm giving 1/2 inch as sewing allowance. Okay, the center front is on fold. Okay, can you see it's on fold? This is what I mean when I say it's on fold. This part is folded and I line this part to it like this. Can you see? And then here 1/2 inch, every other part 1/2 inch. So that's how we cut out the front pattern. The side patterns 1/2 inch all around. Okay, so this is it. Here is it, and this is how we are going to join the patterns. Okay, center, side front, center front. The side seam allowance is 1 inch, as you can already see. Okay, 1 inch side seam allowance. So our patterns are ready. It's now time for our cape. If you have noticed, my cape is bigger or longer than that of my inspiration. This is because that's how I wanted it. Okay, so just take the principle, it's the same principle. It's just the measurements you insert that makes the difference. So on this upper part, you just get your round shoulder length. I mean your round shoulder measurement. Mine is 38 inches. Note that you have to measure it very firmly so that the cape does not fall down. Okay, so measuring mine very firmly gave me 38. So 38 divided by 2 is 19 inches. So that's what I need. But I can still reduce it a little. Like this fabric I'm using now is not up to 19, but it's 18 inches. And also I'll need sewing allowance on the arm to finish up the fabric. So if you watch the back of my dress, the cape did not get to the zipper area. Okay, but it's still fine. Now I haven't measured your length. On the down area, you now remove, so on the center part, you will measure off some inches. Note that if you want the exact cape from the inspiration, removing just 1 inch is okay. If you remove only 1 inch, it will give you that effect. But for me, I removed more than 1. I removed about 3 inches, okay, from mine. I removed about 3 inches. Can you see? So I measured and marked 3 inches. And then next, I divided the cape into 3. I mean the entire length now, the length of 38 that are folded. 38 unfold is 19. So I divided it into 3. Okay. So since mine is 18, yes, it's 18 I'm working with here. So I'm dividing it 6, 6. So now I'm linking that part I have marked to the first 6 like this. Can you see? I know it is dark. You won't be able to see it so clearly. Okay. Let me zoom it a little for you to see. I hope you can see it better like this. However, I'll still go ahead and demonstrate this with a paper so that you get the point clearly. Okay. So here is a paper that I'll use for the demonstration. So I'm assuming the paper is on fold now. And then I'll come here and mark away 3 inches, just like what I did on mine. If you want that of the inspiration, mark 2 inches. I mean, mark 1 inch. And then you divide the full length into 3. Can you see? Okay. After dividing it into 3, you link this point you marked earlier on to the first part and just blend it in like this. Can you see? So this was how I created my cape. Now you are the one that will determine the length of your cape. You can say, oh, let my cape just be 5 inches or 6 inches. Then I'm taking away only 1 inch or more. Okay. Mine, I did 8 inches length of cape and I took away 3 inches from the 8 inches. So the center front of my cape is 5 inches while the other parts are 8 inches. This is excluding the sewing allowances. Okay. So our cape is ready. I hope you got how our cape was created. Now let's now cut out what we marked on our fabric. Now I'm just here simply redrawing that line. Please do not mark your fabric with a marker. Do not do this. I'm doing this because it's my dress and it's for the tutorial. I want you to see it clearly as I'm doing this in the middle of the night with no chalk around me. Okay? So avoid this so you do not stain your fabric. Okay, so having marked, I'm carefully cutting out. Can you see? Look at the shape of our cape. It came out very beautiful. Can you see? So this is our cape. This will go around our body. The folded part will be on the center front. Okay, I'm just cutting off excess to make it smooth. Okay, and also I'm targeting to cut away the marker pen, right? But note that I've added enough allowance for my finishing. That is, for the 8 inches cape, I cut out 10 inches. Then for the center front that is supposed to be 5 inches, it is 7 inches for now. By the time I sew, I will fold the hem with 1.5 and then sew from the upper part with 5 inches. So I'm taking away that 2 inches. Okay, since I'm cutting directly on my fabric, that's why I cut out with the allowances. If you are drafting a pattern first, you can ignore the allowances and add them by the time you are transferring to your fabric. I'm indicating the centers, so by the time I want to align, I will align nicely. So I have notched the center and we are going to sew. Welcome back once again. It is time to sew. It is time for the real moment of truth. Let's see how this comes out. Okay. We will be starting with the back. Okay. So for the back, we'll close the zipper allowance area first. We'll measure down about 8 inches, 8 to 9 inches down, close to the hip area. I'll recommend making it 10. Okay, I'll recommend making it 10. If you want your zipper to pass on your body very easily, make it 10 and then sew down. If you want opening on your back, you stop about 9 inches before you get to the arm. Okay, but for me, there is no need for opening because of this style. The front is already open. Okay, so I'm on my machine now trying to sew. The only opening we have for this center back now is the zipper allowance opening. Okay, so I'll just sew down using my seam allowance, the 1 inch seam allowance that I added. Okay, so I'm done with the back and we are now moving on to the front. Okay, so for the front, like I mentioned earlier, we'll be finished. We are not using lining. Since we are not using lining, we'll be finishing up the parts to be overlapping by just simply folding it and top stitching on it. Okay, so we are aligning the front patterns on the midpoint on this waistline area. Okay, we are tracing the middle and then we are aligning nicely like this. By the time we align, this part that overlaps is the part we want to finish up now by folding and top stitching. So let's proceed. I am trying as much as possible to be very careful so that I do not stretch the fabric. The fabric is a little bit stretchy, so I avoid stretching it at any point so that I will not disfigure the shape of the skirt or make this part longer. Okay, so that's why I am careful. I'll just sew a little, come over, arrange, press it with my second hand, in fact with my both hands. Okay, press it to stay in place, make it flat enough. Can you see? So I have taken that to the end. Let's see what we have gotten. If it's smooth enough. Can you see? It is smooth, but I'll go further by pressing it to make it stay nicely in place. And now we'll go further by also finishing up the overlapped area on this other pattern. Let's put this aside and sew. Okay, so in the same vein, I'll also take the sewing easy, gently and calmly. I will not rush it because of the nature of the fabric. Okay, note that if you are using a lining, this part is not necessary because you just use your lining to turn it over completely. Okay, can you see? I'm also following the same pattern. I'll just sew it till I get to the end. So here we are. We'll simply iron and also make it stay in place before we move ahead to overlap. Dear creatives, as you can see, I have pressed nicely using my hot iron and that part is already relaxed. Can you see? It is relaxed. It's now time for us to overlap the two skirt patterns. Remember, we have to overlap them using the midpoint, okay? They should be meeting on the midpoint as indicated. So you match them up this way and tack and maybe pin them to stay in place. Yes, pinning make the job faster. Pin them to stay in place. So at this point, you notice that the opening is coming out really wide. This is where you must correct when you are drafting your pattern. Okay, the second skirt altered should come from the midpoint. So let's go over to the machine and join like this and then on the waistline too. So we are done joining on the side. The next thing is to join on the waistline, okay, so that the pattern stays in place. Can you see? So you join on the waistline like this. So after joining, you can decide to leave out this lapped area like this, especially if your skirt pattern was longer. But for me, I'll just stitch it to stay in place because my skirt pattern is not too long and also the opening is also wider than usual. Okay, I hope that is clear. And then I'll be joining back to front by the sides. Now, before joining back and front to the by the sides, I have top stitch on the overlap. Can you see? If you are top stitching on the overlap, ensure that you do your top stitching for the front on your overlap before you join back to the front, okay, to make the work easier for you. So that's what I did. After that, I'm going ahead to just join the back to the front now. Can you see? It's our back pattern. So I will align it to the skirt on the waistline, to the front on the waistline, and then join by the sides. So we have successfully joined on one side, and we are now moving over to the second side to join using 1 inch of sewing allowance. Remember, it is the sewing allowance that you give that you must use. We are also done joining the second side, and our skirt pattern is ready. Can you see? Just take a look at it here on the table. Can you see? Look at where I top stitch on. I'm going to press it, iron it to stay in place nicely. Okay, can you see the opening? It's still fine. Or if you want it exactly like that one, remember how we drafted, what I explained during the drafting. Look at the back. Beautiful. Here is our zipper allowance. Yeah, our skirt pattern is complete. Yes, the moment of truth has come to an end. Yes, it works. The pattern works. Now we'll just simply finish up by folding the arm. Just fold it and take it round. Okay, so I haven't finished the skirt pattern. We are now moving on to the bodice pattern. So for the back bodice, this is how we are going to sew. Can you see? So let's keep it aside and check out the front bodice also. So here is our front bodice, the center front and our side fronts. So for the front bodice too, we are just going to sew like this. But first, let's go over to the machine and sew the back bodice. Okay, and here I have simply joined. Can you see the back? I have joined the back, and here is also our front. Okay, we are done joining the front also. So the next thing we want to do is to join back and front by the sides like this. Okay, just like this. So here I'm also done joining by the sides, and we have back and front patterns completely joined. Next, I'll be attaching off shoulder band sleeve. Okay, just a little band. I do not have enough fabric actually, so I'll just maneuver and try to make it as neat as possible. I'll be folding on this side, finishing it like this. Okay, I'll fold and top stitch before I start the joining process, or before I attach it to the bodice. To get the length of your sleeve accurately, you add your across front and across back measurement together and deduct it from the round shoulder measurement. That is, my across front is 13 and across back 14. 13 plus 14, 27. I'll deduct 27 from 38. I'll get 9. Then 9 divided by 2 gives me 4.5. So each sleeve is 4.5. With the sewing allowances, each sleeve is 5.5. So I have cut 5.5 out for each sleeve. Okay. Now, before I attach, I have also finished the armhole area by folding and top stitching. Then I have also top stitched on the down part of this band sleeve. Okay. The part that will be facing down for the band sleeve, I have top stitched. Now, before I attach, I'm still folding. Okay, this is to get a neat finishing. I'm folding. Just watch what I'm doing. I folded that extra sewing allowance I gave. I gave half an inch sewing allowance, so I folded it twice to give me a 1/4 inch fabric, so to say, and I'm attaching it now. Okay, just watch what I'm doing. You can actually use your pin to hold it to stay before sewing. So this is what we've gotten on one side. On the other side now, I'll also, can you see how it will appear? Let me just remove thread. Okay, now we'll proceed to do the same thing on the other side. You fold it in a little and then you place it like this and then you sew. Okay, so remember, before doing this, we are folded and top stitch on the armhole area and also on the down part of the band. So the band off shoulder sleeve will become very neat by the time we are done attaching our cape. So we are done with one sleeve. We'll be doing the same thing on the other sleeve. Dear creatives, we are here done attaching both sleeves. So we have off shoulder band sleeves attached. Okay, this is to form a basis for the cape to pass through, or like a foundation for the cape to rest on. It's now time for us to attach the cape. Before then, you indicate the midpoint of your top, the center front. I have notched to indicate the midpoint, and next will be the midpoint of the sleeve, which we marked earlier. We notched earlier by the time we transferred patterns to fabric. So I'll be aligning the two notch points together to start sewing. Can you see? So aligning them together, we will sew straight till we get to the back. Okay, now before we proceed to attach the cape, we need to finish up the hem of the cape. Okay, and the side that will be at the back. Can you see? So I'm folding and I will be top stitching now. Okay, mind you, this cape is not in a straight shape at the hem. So you have to be careful when you get to the hem area. It is curvy and the fabric is a little stretchy. So as you can see, I am arranging according to the shape of the cape. Okay, you carefully arrange, press it down nicely, and then top stitch. Just watch me till we get to the end. So in case you are using a similar fabric like mine that is a little stretchy, you will not encounter any issue. Just follow the sewing technique I'm using here. So dear creatives, I'm at the end now. Okay, I hope you follow the process. You just take it step by step. You don't just rush and sew straight, okay? Because our cape is not straight, it is curvy. Now we are done. We'll also iron and make it stay flat and nice, right? So I'll simply go over to my ironing table and iron it. Press it nicely, okay? Ensuring that it stays in place. Then I'll come over and join it to the neckline. Welcome back, dear creatives. We are here. I have pressed it down nicely and it's time to attach it to our neckline. Okay, so just like I mentioned earlier, you indicate the midpoints here. It is notched. So on the bodice, the notched part of the neckline on the bodice will be attached to this. Okay, so let's join it together. What we will do in this case, the right side of the cape will face the wrong side of the fabric, right? This is the wrong side of the cape and here is the right side of the fabric. Side of cape facing the wrong side of the blouse, okay? So I have attached that way and I am sewing. Please don't mix this up. The right side of the cape must be the one facing the wrong side of the fabric before you start sewing. So I have attached the cape to the neckline on one side till the end, okay? As you can see, it is not very close to the zipper allowance. I don't know if you can see clearly, but by the time we are fixing the zipper, you'll be able to see it clearly. Okay, so this is the effect, flipping it over. Can you see? So by the time we flip it over, the right side of the cape will be facing up now. Okay, the fabric, both right and wrong sides can be used, so it can be confusing if you are just watching it. Okay, for me that I know the part I'm using for the right side, I know which is the right side and which is the wrong side. Well, I'm trying to explain all of this in detail so that you will know. Can you see what I just did now? I just finished up the remaining parts by simply folding and sewing the remaining parts of the center back area on the neckline. Okay, that's for neat finishing. After that, I'm proceeding to also stitch on the other side of the neckline. Okay, attaching the cape to our top. So I am attaching now. By the end of this side, I'll be showing you what I did on the other side that I did not get to explain early enough. Okay, so just watch. So I'm at the end of the cape now. Okay, close to the zipper allowance but not too close. If you can watch well, there is a fabric remaining there. This is the fabric. So I'm coming over to fold it like this and top stitch so that the neckline area will be finished nicely because the cape did not get to this part. I hope this is gotten very clearly. Okay, while the part that is under the cape, underneath the cape, will be serged. Okay, that is, I'll be weaving it, finishing it with a weaving machine. Okay, I am done. This is the cape. We are done fixing the cape and everything is neat. Look at the back. So this is the side I'll be attaching my zipper to. Okay, the allowance is more than the zipper allowance, so something will still be remaining. That means the cape did not get to the exact point where the zipper is. So look at the front of the cape. It is fine. It's now time for us to join these upper bodies to the skirts. As you can see here, I have changed my machine. The power was interrupted, so I have to go for a manual machine because I needed to finish up this tutorial. So what you simply do is to align the waistline together, okay? Ensuring that the two side seams, the side seam of the upper bodies aligns with the side seam of the lower bodies. So after aligning, and also the midpoint should also align, the center front and the center front on the upper bodies and that of the lower bodies. So you need to pin them to stay, ensuring that these points have aligned correctly. Okay, now I have aligned them correctly and I'm simply sewing using my manual sewing machine. Okay, can you see how the points are aligning? This is because I placed them correctly by drafting. Everything was accurate. Okay, so these two side seams aligned, and then the center back too. The center back for the upper bodies and the lower bodies also aligned nicely. So when you are sewing yours and you notice that it's not aligning, you have made a mistake somewhere which you may need to correct. Okay, now I am done stitching on one side. I'm flipping it over simply to the other side to also seam, to also stitch, right? So I am stitching, I'm continuing with the process. On this side, I'll also stitch and check if there is any error or if the sides are actually aligned just like the other side. So as you can see, this side also aligns. The side seam, the center, everything aligns nicely. So we are done with our gown. Okay, we are done joining upper bodice to lower bodice. Let's check out what we have gotten so far. So this is the inside of our dress. Can you see? We need to weave the inside to make it very neat. Okay, so I'll simply weave the inside. The outside is already very neat. I'll only weave the inside, and then I'll finish up the arm by just folding and top stitching. Flipping it out, we are having this right here. This is it. We are left with fixing of the zipper. Okay, we'll be fixing the zipper also together. So we have our back very neat. Let's flip it over and also see the front. Can you see the front? Also very neat. So this is it. Our dress is complete. You see the fitting on me, but first you have to see it on the mannequin. But before the fitting, let's now go over and fix our zipper. To fix your zipper, the first thing you need to do is to change your footer to a zipper foot. I'm removing this footer now. This is it, the one I just removed. And here I have my zipper foot. Can you see? It is very slim. In case you don't know a zipper foot, you can get one from tailoring material stores. Okay. Now I am using my screwdriver to screw out one zipper and then using same to screw in another zipper. Another footer. Now our zipper footer is securely fixed there. So we can now start fixing our zipper. I'm using this invisible zipper, the one with a big head, so to say. So this is it. The first thing you need to do, you open it up and then place it like this, okay? You flip it. After opening it up, you flip it over towards one side, okay? Like this. Can you see? Okay, here the rope is also prepared. My student was actually preparing the rope that will just serve as my fancy belt, okay? So let's go over and fix the zipper. You place it like this and then you just start stitching. Using your zipper foot makes it very easy. The major reason why I'm showing this zipper fixing process is because I want to show you how to align the seam lines on the back. Okay, I want to show you how to align it. When we get to that point, you understand. So let's go, because there are some persons that will sew a dress like this. It's neat, but when you get to the back, you see that one part of the back seam, the waistline seam, is up, the other is down. So this process will be teaching you how to avoid that. So when you are getting close to the end of the zipper opening space, you just enter a little by about half an inch to 1 inch and you stop. Now it's time to sew on the other side. Before you stitch on the other side, you need to zip the zipper closed, okay? And then you align the waistline, the seam lines on the waistline like this. Can you see? You must align it nicely and pin together before you go ahead to join. Now you just join a little with about 4 inches, okay? And then you open it up and check how it is to know if it has aligned. Yes, it has aligned directly. If it hasn't aligned, then you need to loosen it and redo again. but you need to be careful. That's why pinning it is very important. Okay, so after that, you just go to the zipper end. Okay, ensuring that you place the zipper very directly and as flat to the fabric as possible, and then you start sewing. Okay, ensure you are sewing only on the zipper allowance. You sew straight. This time around, you are taking it down to the neckline area, passing through the waistline. Okay, now on getting close to the end of the neckline, you just simply remove it first. You remove it and then you open it up. Okay, remember it has been closed all along, so you need to open it up now so you can freely walk with one side. Okay, or walk on one side. So after that, you fold it over just like we did for the other neckline. You fold it over on the neckline like this and then just sew. Most of you know how to fix zipper already. I'm just showing this technique for the benefit of those who are new to sewing. Okay, so this is it. You go back and continue your stitching till you get to the end. Now we are simply done. We are done with fixing the zipper. Now for the cape, I want to do some adjustments. Can you see? I just press it to stay like this, top stitch on it, on this part, on the ending part of the cape. Can you see? So I just place it like this and then top stitch on it about 1 inch. I'll do the same thing on the other side of the cape. This is to ensure that the cape is balanced and it doesn't just move anyhow at the back, so to say. So this is it. I'm doing same thing on this other side. Can you see? I showed practically everything I did to make this dress complete. All the sewing techniques have been shown. Okay, congratulations to us. Our dress is complete. Can you see? It is beautifully made, neatly designed. The front and the back, and here is our front. So now take a look at it on the mannequin. Beautiful, right? Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Thank you.